Welcome into a very special episode of Husker Women's Wednesday, powered by Emeritus. I'm Jessica Coody, and throughout this year, we've been celebrating the 50th anniversary of several women's sports programs here at the University of Nebraska, including Husker women's basketball. And so very excited and honored to be joined by the most decorated player in Nebraska women's basketball history, Karen Jennings. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for asking me.
Well, we got so much fun stuff going on here as we celebrate the 50 years, but man, take me back to your decision to come to Nebraska. Why the Huskers? Why did you want to come here from, Persia, Iowa?
Okay, well, when I was a junior in high school, I signed up for the Angela Beck basketball camp. And I came down as a camper and had a really good time. And at the very end of the camp, Coach Beck approaches me and said, "Hey, is your dad here, your mom here?" And I said, "Yeah, my dad's just standing up there." He goes, "Before you leave, I want to sit down with you, your dad and yourself, and talk with you." So we met up in the bleachers, and she offered me a scholarship to come to Nebraska.
Wow. So just, I guess, take me through your basketball journey, because you played 6-on-6 before you got here. How did you realize that this was maybe something you wanted to do in college? How did you get there to where you're getting that scholarship offer?
Yeah, my dad was a basketball coach for the guys for 10 years. He coached in Illinois and Nebraska. And when I was in 4th grade, about 10 years old, my mom said, "You're going to be a basketballer." And I said, "Okay." So she dropped me off at the YMCA and said, "I'll pick you up on the street when you're done. Be down here. I'll be here in an hour to pick you back up." And so I walked in, joined the team, and went out to my first basketball game and scored 14 points.
Wow.
And then that's where it started. And I just played YMCA basic basketball. Then when I was in junior high, I was on the basketball team. And we played 7 games in 7th grade, and we played 8 games in 8th grade. And then at the end of my 8th grade basketball season, Tri-Center is where I went to school. The coach, Coach White, said, "Hey, would you mind coming and just doing some practice with the high school team at the end of my 8th grade season?" And we didn't lose a game in 7th or 8th grade, so I guess they thought we had some promise. And so I played 4 years of high school with the 6-on-6 basketball. And I loved it. I averaged 59 points a game my senior year for Tri-Center.
Wow.
My junior year, I averaged 55 points a game. And I loved shooting the basketball. I loved practicing. Our coach every summer said, "Hey, can you get 100 hours of basketball practice in over the summer?" And I did 300.
Wow.
So I had the bug, and I kind of knew by the time I was a sophomore in high school that my dream was to play Division I college basketball.
How did you, because, you know, again, you talk about the growth, and right now it's a lot of people's dream, but I imagine it wasn't as probably big to know that that was a possibility. So how did you know and believe that that could be a dream of yours that you could attain?
I knew by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was averaging about 30 points a game. And I started to get letters from colleges, and I played AAU basketball with a team out of Omaha. And actually it was the same team that Mortice Ivy had played on. And so I would go to these AU tournaments and do this tournament one time in the summer. And then all of a sudden, I just started getting, you know, I got 200 offers from different schools to play basketball. And then before my senior year, I got an invitation to play at the Blue Star camp, which at that time was a lot of money for my family to send me. I think it was almost $300 to go to the Blue Star camp, and that was in Terre Haute, Indiana. But when I went, I won the one-on-one competition.
Wow.
So then that turned a lot of people's heads, and I made the top all-star team at the Blue Star camp. And then coming out of high school, Dick Vitale named me the number 5 player in the country. So in our recruiting class was top 5 in the country that year at Nebraska.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you have role models, basketball role models growing up?
Oh, yeah. Lynette Woodard.
Yeah.
She was at Kansas. And interestingly enough about Lynette is that she's the all-time leading scorer in the Big 8 conference, and I'm number 2.
Wow.
So that's kind of unique.
Were you trying to catch her?
Oh, gosh. I honestly, all of my scoring was just such a surprise. I really just wanted to play. I had no idea that I was going to be able to achieve the things I achieved at Nebraska. I really just hoped I didn't sit the bench.
Oh, that's great. So, you had all these offers and interests. And why did you land on Coach Beck? What was it about her messaging that you wanted to play for her?
Oh, gosh. Well, obviously coming to camp, I mean, she's goofy. She's so funny. And we had such a blast. And then just her culture, her assistant coach, Coach Becker, she'd write personal notes constantly. Steve High at the time was on staff there. They really just rolled out the red carpet when I came here. I think it also didn't hurt that Michael Jordan was in town on an exhibition the night of my recruiting visit.
Really?
And so somehow Coach Beck talked someone into letting me go into the locker room and get Michael Jordan's autograph. So I was pretty impressed with that. So that was an incredible visit. It just, when I came to Nebraska, Coach Beck said, hey, if you come to Nebraska, I think I can pretty much guarantee you're going to play 20 minutes a game. I will give you that opportunity to play. And I'm a player. I want to play. And my second choice was University of Iowa. And Vivian Stringer had said, well, you'll play some, but you're probably going to play behind Shonda Berry, who was an All-American, for a couple years before you'll have your opportunity to play. And I just said, I felt comfortable at Nebraska, and it was also closer to home, very close to my family, very close to my dad and my mom both, and they came to every game, plus my grandparents would come to every game. So every home game, and then my parents and grandparents came to a lot of the away games because we played in the Big 8 Conference. They could drive to Iowa State. They could drive to Missouri. They could drive to Kansas State. They could drive to Kansas. They didn't necessarily go to Oklahoma and Colorado every year, but they made most of my games. If I would have gone to Iowa or Indiana or Michigan State, those are the places that were also interested in me, it was going to be too far for them to attend the games. So, and I guess I'm just kind of a homebody.
You were telling us an incredible story when you first got here. So much, we talk a lot about the training table and how that helps build camaraderie within the athletics department, and the legendary Bob Devaney started it, but you were part of the first women's team that actually got to partake in it. Tell us that story.
Yeah, so basically January 1st of 1990, Bob Devaney comes in the locker room after one of our practices and said, hey girls, I got some great news for you. You guys are going to be able to eat at the training table. We were just like cheered for joy because, dorm food's dorm food. It's okay. But the training table, we got to eat there for special occasions and knew how wonderful the food was and the atmosphere. And we were already going there anyway because of our study hall. So we just were above the moon. And most importantly, I thought that was the neatest thing is that summer when I played on the USA basketball teams, then I would talk to players that were from Tennessee, from University of Connecticut, they were from Texas, they were from Virginia, some of these big names like I played with Dawn Staley, Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo. None of those schools let their women eat on the training table. We were the first. And I think a lot of people do not realize what a big fan Nebraska is of their women's athletics.
What does that say? That gives me chills. What does that say about just even back then, the Coach Devaney, the support that was, afforded to you guys that wasn't happening everywhere?
Yeah, he really trusted his female coaches. He was a big fan of the women's basketball team. He had complete confidence in Coach Beck. He would just come in and just raise his fist and go, come on, girls. He really enjoyed the women's athletics. And I think that's why Barbara Hibner got involved, and he gave her a lot of, administrative, power in the athletic department to really oversee what we were doing as women athletes.
You accomplished a lot personally. Your teams accomplished a lot, but not that first year, right? You had a losing season, I think, and then you started to build. Take me through that process. What changed there? How did that momentum shift where you started building and starting getting those winning, stacking up the wins and then getting to the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really good freshman class that year, but we were missing a kind of piece of the puzzle. And so we recruited this point guard named Megan Yatsena. She was from Pennsylvania, and she had great handles. She was such an incredible passer. She is a Caitlin Clark type of passer. And I knew if I just ran the court and I got open, she would get us the ball. And it was like our missing piece of the puzzle. And then I also think just our attitudes changed. Like we started to develop more of a winning attitude and it just takes time. Sometimes when we were 10 and 18 my freshman year, so it was a real struggle. I didn't lose. I think I lost 9 games in high school, so I wasn't used to losing that many games. And so I think it was just like, okay, we're not going to take this anymore. We're going to change this next year. And I think a lot of it is just your mentality and your belief in us as a team and us as athletes, and then also just making that commitment. And part of that, also individually, I made a commitment on my fitness, because coming in, I didn't play 5-on-5, so I wasn't in the physical shape I needed to be in to withstand the long season competing in the 5-on-5 basketball game. So I made a commitment with Boyd Epley and their staff, and we had basically I'm trying to think. Paul was our trainer, and Paul did a great job. He set up our training systems for our off season and our summer programs. Coach Becker set up she was our assistant coach. She set up our shooting schedules and when we're during the off season where we could practice at home. And I remember going home and just pulling out our booklet that Coach Becker had put together for us and writing down all of our shooting drills and keeping, being very diligent to success. And all those little pieces make a huge difference. And so we started to turn it the next year. I think we were 18 and 11 my sophomore year, and then the next year I think we were like 20 and 10, and then I think we were 23. I think we were 23 and 11 maybe our senior year. But just making a commitment every day, that you're going to be a little bit better, even if it's 1% better. Just making that commitment.
Your name is still attached to, I think I counted 7 records at least, including points in a season, career points. The list goes on and on. I mean, you averaged 25 points a game one season. Mm-hmm. Take me through your mindset as a scorer when I'm sure teams are trying to prevent you from scoring. How you were able to continue to rack up the points so consistently throughout your entire career?
I really worked hard in the off season. And I think it just goes back to the fundamentals of my dad really focused on my fundamentals of my shooting. But I also think it's just learning how to move without the ball. Like, the great scorers have to get open, because you're gonna start be double and triple teamed from time to time, and you got to find a way to get open. And I also give a lot of credit really to Coach Beck. She ran a lot of plays to get me open, and then I had great teammates that passed the ball and were very selfless. And we had great scorers on our team, and anyone could have scored at any time. And a lot of times, sometimes they gave up their own shots to get me the ball inside, and I really appreciate it. It's really a team effort always. I think I was also kind of a garbage player. Honestly, I loved to rebound. I loved offensive rebounds. Alexis Markowski, she is incredible on her rebounding, and she's kind of a garbage player as well. I'm really amazed by how, night after night after night, she gets 10+ rebounds, and that's really hard to do in this environment, and she needs to be commended for that.
So you guys, your senior year, you get to the NCAA tournament, you get this program, their first NCAA tournament win. How much pride did you guys take in that? What was that like when you guys win that game in that NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. It was just everything that we wanted. We've been working for So yeah, you can't explain it. It's incredible.
You said you came here and didn't expect everything to happen that happened. So what did it feel like? What was it like when you start getting these records along the way?
Yeah, just very surprised. I just really wanted to do my best. I was very much a serious student, very serious student of the game, serious student in the classroom. Just, took everything really like to heart. A lot of people, there's so many directions you can go. There's so many things that can pull you off the court and out of the classroom. And I just stayed very consistent and stayed in my lane, so to speak, and it paid off. But yeah, I'm just really thankful for the opportunities, and it's so different. When I got a scholarship at Nebraska, I was just thrilled that they would actually like pay for my school, and they would give me, these nice shoes and warm-ups and bags, and I just, felt very spoiled when I was at Nebraska always, and now to see it, with the NIL and all the changes that have kind of occurred with the transfer portal, it's just, I can't even imagine what that's like to be a student athlete today, because I was just so, felt like it was just such an amazing experience, and it would be, I don't know how I would handle it today as an athlete.
You almost got as many academic awards as you did basketball awards. You're CoSIDA Academic All-American-of-the-Year twice, 3-time Academic All-American. Again, the list goes on and on. Why was that so important to you to also be exceptional in the classroom?
I just felt that was our duty, is to just do your best. And I knew that if I put the time and effort into my school, that I could do great things with my, I felt God really blessed me, in both academically and athletically, and I felt like if I wasn't giving my best, then I was letting him down, and letting myself down, and letting my team down, letting my coaches down. So I always felt like that was just really important to me.
When you get the call that they're going to retire number 51, the first Husker woman to have your jersey retired, what was that like, and what is it like now seeing still it hanging from the rafters at PBA?
Yeah, emotional. Every time something like this happens, it's very emotional for me. Coach Beck is she's really cares about you as a person, even, it's been 35 plus years, and I still can just pick up the phone call and have a conversation with my coaches. And just to have that special relationship, it doesn't quit when you leave Nebraska. Also, one of the other ones that I literally was speechless and almost cried was when Dick Enberg called me and said that I made the Academic All-American Hall of Fame. I was driving in my car. I had to pull over. I literally sobbed. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? The Dick Enberg, the guy that talks at Wimbledon? I was like, what? So that was pretty incredible. Really unexpected and really thankful again.
Why did that one mean so much to you?
I just never put myself in that category, right? I went to class. I never missed class. I always got my assignments in on time. I always went in and talked to my teachers. I always sat in the front row, because you realize that when we came to Nebraska, we had to take this class called University Foundations, and then we'd have to meet with Keith Zimmer, okay? And Keith was like, okay, when you go into the class, you have to sit in the T formation. T formation is front row or the first seat in the middle aisle, right? So you have to be in the T formation. And then you have to and then they teach you how to organize your notes, because I didn't know any of that in high school. I don't know how I got through high school, but yeah. I took notes, but they were kind of crazy and not as organized. Well, they taught you how to take notes. They set you up for success. If you just go to those classes and listen, you will learn so much. And it's your decision if you want to follow the format, but they've studied this, they know what works, and I just soaked it all up.
So many of the things that you've done, you're the first. How special is that to you now, seeing the growth of this program of women's basketball, that you were able to be a part of kind of laying that kind of foundation for what was to come here in Lincoln and just overall in women's basketball?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there were women before me that laid those foundations. The ladies that started in the 70s, I mean, they were the first. And we were just along the way a little bit. We were probably one of the first teams that actually got on TV more regularly, and we were starting to build more of the people coming to the Bob Devaney Center to watch us. But I cannot take that away from them. They really laid the groundwork. And if it wasn't really for them, we wouldn't have got where we were. And if it wasn't for us, then the next generation. I think it's just evolution, the way it goes. And I don't know that I could take that credit. I just was given great resources, and I just made it a choice to use all of the resources I could.
So then, on that note, then how proud are you that you were part of it? I mean, because look where it is today, you know, that you were part of that growth that started.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud. And it is, you know, sometimes it's not good to be too prideful, but I am very proud of all the women that competed for the University of Nebraska. And, you know, my teammates will always hold a very special place in my heart. And I was talking to Coach Becker about this, that I think it's great to go to the PBA and to watch the girls and to watch them succeed. And I love being a fan, but I would not trade our intimate environment where we competed at the Bob Devaney Center for anything. I loved going to Salina, Kansas, and playing in that very small gymnasium for the Big 8 championships. I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. And I mean, it would be really cool to play in front of 10,000 people like the girls did with Alexis and Britt and, you know, all of them playing. I mean, this team is doing a great job this year. It would be an incredible experience to do that as well, but I wouldn't trade my experiences.
Oh, that's great. So you majored in physical therapy, you did physical therapy, and then you switched over to getting into real estate. Now you're one of the most successful in Omaha. Why the switch? What led you to be getting into real estate?
I think I just have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I also I think I like to compete. And I think real estate, I was mentioned this before, real estate is kind of like a game. And every year in real estate is a new season, and we start 0-0, okay? We close all our transactions for the year of 2024, and then we start January 2025, and you got to still perform. And your players are different, your houses are different, your buyers and sellers are different that year, but it's a new year, and you got to get up, and you got to change your strategies sometimes. You got to adjust to the new rules of officiating, and I got to run my offense.
So I was actually going to ask you, how much did being a student athlete playing basketball at an elite level prepare you for that? But it sounds like it was
everything. Everything. It's definitely what you learned in those 4 years translates to everything you do in life. And my CEO asked me this year, because we have to get together. We do, I sell real estate for Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services Ambassador. And Vince, we're at our mastermind meeting, and he goes, "Okay, Jennings, what are you going to do this year?" I said, "I'm going to execute and keep running my offense." Because, you know, I'm starting my 24th year selling real estate. And I know my plan of attack. I know what it takes to be successful, and you just got to stay on the path.
So for young women that might want to get into business, maybe follow along, or just what maybe words of wisdom could you pass along to be successful when you get into that realm of things after college?
The biggest thing is to always focus on your fundamentals, formulate a plan, get your playbook together, and then execute it.
Simple as that.
Yep.
I love that. Just kind of wrapping up, just again, 50 years of Husker women's basketball, but just across this campus, the success of these women's programs and the support that they get with this fan base. What does it mean to you to be a part of it, to see that there is so much support for these female student athletes?
I think it's well earned by the student athletes, and it's encouraging to see that. It's uplifting to see it, and we just continue to support them as much as we can.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for being here. And I know you're going to be a part of the celebrations coming up, National Girls and Women's Sports Day, a lot of fun things around that. How good is that? How important is that this, again, is something that is a focus and an emphasis here to celebrate how far we've come?
Oh, I think it's instrumental in the continuing growth of women in athletics. When I was a senior in high school, I drove down to the state capital, Des Moines, in Iowa. My basketball coach drove me down there to meet the governor. And was telling that to my daughter, that was the last time that I remember making it so special to celebrate this day. And then it's kind of how it's full circle that I get to do this. So I'm really honored to be able to speak, and hopefully it's encouraging to others.
8th grade, Karen, if someone would have told her what you were going to go on to do, both as a basketball player and as a businesswoman, what would you have said?
I would not have ever envisioned what I'm doing today. Never. Or what I accomplished. I was still leading the cattle through the 4-H ring. I was still painting the fences on the farm.
So what would you say then was the most important thing that you did to generate that kind of success?
Oh my gosh. I think just being disciplined. I think you have to, there's not really this dramatic recipe for success. The people actually that are the most successful kind of do the same thing every day, and they perfect it. And they don't live this, they don't do really anything that you would think is just off the wall, so different. But they really perfect what they decide that they're going to do and staying focused. I think focus and discipline is a lot of it. And I think it's whether you want to be a doctor, you want to be a sports information director, you got to just stay really focused and on task of what you're doing and be the best you can be with that, and try to play defense against the distractions, right? Because there's so many distractions that can keep you from being successful if you let them come in. And so I think that's probably, and I don't know where I got that focus, but I've always kind of been like that. I've been like intensely competitive inside. With myself, probably more than anyone, more than even with other people, just wanting to make sure that I do everything to not let the team down, right? And whether it's one more rebound or one more shot or one more defensive set, just making sure that you can only control what you can do, right? And just being kind and uplifting to your teammates and encouraging to them as well. I think that's pretty much puts it and I think also just I made the right choice. I made the right choice of becoming a Husker. Like, I listened to my gut instinct. I listened to the Holy Spirit tell me, you should be a Husker. And I didn't fight it. I just knew. I knew the day I came down here that I wanted to be here. And I didn't try to, no one talked me into it. I just knew. And I think when you have that, when it's so crystal clear where you're supposed to go, and then you make a commitment to that university. And I think I had that from my dad. My dad said, okay, now you're going to go to Nebraska, and you're going to stay there through thick and thin, no matter how it goes. You're going to finish. You're going to go there, you're going to commit, and you're going to finish. And I'm thankful that my parents felt like that. You because there's going to be things in your life that are going to be hard and difficult, and people are going to push you down, and you got to get back up, and you got to keep fighting. And I think those are some of the things that you learn intrinsically by being a student athlete.
Man, I'm ready to run through a brick wall. That was incredible stuff. Man, what a perspective, what a story. Thank you so much for being
You're
here.
welcome.
Thank you for everything you've done for women's sports, and we're looking forward to hearing much more from you coming up here on National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
All right, thank you so much.
And that is Karen Jennings joining us here on Husker Women's Wednesday, powered by Emeritus. Emeritus is proud to power this podcast and all of Husker women's sports. Thanks for listening and watching.